And so here's a stat for you. In a poll of more than 23,000 people from 29 countries, almost a third of men said, yeah, a wife should obey her husband. In today's day and age, that is still a popular thought.
I told you about a wedding I went to where part of the vows was you agree that the husband is the leader of your marriage, and
that was in there.
In the vows. And I'm like, is anyone going to stand up and yell about this?
I object!
I know. I was like, well, they're not my vows. So I feel like we're partners and we discuss things and we make a decision together, or we have a big fight about it, blow out, one of us cries, and then the other person comes crawling back, you know how it goes. Yeah, I am. That's disheartening to hear that in, what did you say, 31 countries, 29,000 people?
23,000 people from 29 countries.
A third of dudes
and
said,
a lot of them were young
obey.
people, too, that's really surprising to me.
Like this whole Tradwife thing that everyone's talking about, like this whole, like, we're going back to the, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, get me my food, woman.
New data shows Gen Z men across the world hold very regressive views about women, which is awful to hear because I have 2 daughters and I am not letting them fall for that crap.
Good.
Bob, you're getting married.
I am.
Is there any talk about the vows and what will be said in the vows, or will you do your own vows? How will that go?
We'll definitely do our own vows. We haven't planned them yet. I think we each have a note on our phone where we're kind of, as we think of things, we're like, oh, I want to make sure I mention that in the vows. But we haven't come up with the structure yet.
Are you going to read your vows off your phone?
No, I'll memorize mine. Susan can do whatever he wants. Whatever makes him happy. It's his day.
I can't memorize anything anymore. I would have to have my phone.
Mm-hmm. You can memorize stuff.
I can't. I've tried to memorize lyrics to songs. I'm like, nope, I'm going to use my phone.
Gen Z, more than boomers, believe a wife should obey her husband.
Oh, boy.
Which is really,
Isn't it crazy how the pendulum swings? Like, you fight for generations so hard to get equality and rights and to be treated as an equal. Like,
there's this whole trend with young male Gen Z where it's, this masculinity thing and it's going back to like that, and men being men and stuff, and it's ridiculous, but it is definitely a trend. And then there's a lot of folks who they think that this is a church thing. They think the church, you're supposed to obey.
The people who were saying he's the leader of the marriage are definitely Christly.
I do think that if we look at the people we grew up with, like my mom and dad met when they were 16, and my dad joined the Marines at 17. In fact, had to have his mom sign a note saying he can join early, and then joined, and then went off to Japan, I think was where he was stationed. And my mom and dad communicated that way, and he proposed from Japan, I believe.
In a letter?
In a letter. Oh. In a handwritten letter of all things. So that was, but
Sandy.
And so that's one of those things where you go, you can't be in people's marriages. They decide how that's going to go. And my mom absolutely, I can't speak for her. I'm kind of doing that, but she split with him, and they went and started a life in California, and she didn't work, and they had kids, and she stayed home. And there were times where, as a guy, Gen X, growing up in that house, my mom would prepare this meal and put it on the table, and my dad would come sit down, and he'd sit down, and then he'd go, "Sand, the salt?" And she'd go, "Oh, let me go get that." And I'd be like, "What is wrong with your ass? You can't get up and get your own salt?" And she'd be like, "Vincent." But that was kind of the thought process in my head. Watching this thing happen, I'd think, you can't get your own salt.
I think what matters to me is that you have the choice. There's this really popular Instagram YouTuber called Ballerina Farm, and she is an ultimate Chad wife. She just had her 9th baby.
What's a Chad wife?
Tradwife.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I'm like, Chad wife?
No,
Chad's got all these wives?
New?
I don't know
sorry,
about that. All right.
And there's a lot of concern for her from progressive women on the internet because she met her husband when she was at Juilliard and to be a ballerina. And then she left and started this family. And now she has all these kids and yada, yada. But to me, it's like if she knows what she's getting into and this is the life she wants to live and I think she makes everything from scratch, like bread and yogurt, like everything. Like they churn the butter.
9 kids.
I think they live on a farm and everything.
Well, Ballerina Farm.
Right, exactly. But to me, it's about having the choice. Like, I don't think we should be disrespecting women who want to stay home and take care of their
100%.
families.
But just think that they don't have some kind of voice in the way that the family makes decisions is problematic for me at the very least. And at the most, like sometimes when you're under somebody's thumb, it can become abusive. Even if it's just verbal or like a power abuse, like I don't like thinking of women as second-class citizens. I want them involved in the decisions that affect their lives.
Agreed, 100%. And certainly I'm not in that type of relationship, but I don't think it sounds so bad to be a stay-at-home parent either way. You know, sometimes it makes sense have one person be able to take care of all of the things at home, right? I mean, that's kind of what you did with John, right?
Yes. And I'll tell you something. I had the easier job. Like raising kids, no joke. Taking care of a house is there's so much that goes into it.
Absolutely.
But we had a completely reversed traditional gender role.
Speaking of that, which I was going to get to that in a minute, but now is the time. They say here, 24% of men in the United States said it causes problems in a marriage if a man stays home to raise the children while the woman works. Now, that's an opinion that they are putting on others. You guys made that work perfectly for you guys.
Well, John didn't not work, though. We flipped a bunch of houses, and he always had stuff going on, like the kids went off to, but he was the primary caregiver for those kids. And it's like at your house. I went to bed early. He had to deal with bedtime. I was gone. He had to deal with getting them up and getting them out of the house in the morning. Like that, it worked for us, and I couldn't have done it without him. And also done this job. This
reverse opinion, or this old opinion that seems to be circling back, is troubling in my mind. But you guys all have to make your own deals.
Yeah.
I will tell you this though: as you're having conversations with people about the future, you might hold opinions or make deals that you think, well, we know about what that entails. You don't know till you get there. And people might go, oh, F no, I'm not doing this anymore. It's too much. Or I know I said I would, but I changed my mind. And what are you going to do? Who do you call? Her mom? His dad?
Right.
If they change their mind in the middle of this deal that you've made, you could find yourself in a position you didn't really expect or want. It's hard.
Yep.
So anyway, that was just with it being,
Women's Month. Women's
History Month. That's a surprising stat that over 30% of men said the wife should obey her husband. And it's not just the old guys.
Oh my God, it just makes me almost want to laugh.
Well.
But you're right. Some people, you're allowed to choose what you want in your life, but also don't diminish other women by saying that they've made the wrong choice if they don't go a Tradwife thing.
The hard part really does become if you've made deals and conversations and you think that everything's going to go according to plan, and then you find yourself going, I don't like this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
I feel like that's kind of why I have commitment issues in general, because you don't know until you get there. So I don't like to be too sure of anything. Because maybe I'll change my mind, and I reserve the right to change my mind. And Susan and I have talked at length about that. Like, if at one point you get to a place and you realize you're not happy with how things are going, let's talk about it. Like if he wants to suddenly completely change his career one day and realizes he hates coding or whatever it is he does at work, I'm not really sure. Then, okay, let's talk about it, because life is long.
Yep. It's also short.
Gotta do it right. Life
gets
longer.
Right. The less happy you are. It zips on by when you're having fun.
Speaking of zipping by.
Yes, dear.
What? Wake up! Thank you. With Sarah and Vinny.
Ding, 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 ding.